Welcome everyone to our Saturday 11 a.m. Chapter 20 partner program. And this is an opportunity where we look at the desires coming up in chapter 20 of Jesus, a New Covenant, given to us to bring everything out of the subconscious that's denying divinity. So we're going to be joined by two guests today. First, Michael, and then his new partner, Tricia, will be joining us a bit later from France. So let's just start with the light of divine being, which we are. And I love the lesson this morning from the Course, I cannot be separate from Source. So let's call on Holy Spirit, Jesus, to guide us in what it is to be most useful for healing the mind and a service to the whole. So all three of us have completed chapter 20 with a partner. Some of us have actually been through it once or twice and now move into the evening joining in light groups, which every evening join to look at desires from the subconscious mind to deny divinity. So Michael, you're on the hot seat.
Hello, mighties.
Yeah, is there anything that's coming up for you right away that you're hearing from Jesus that you want to share?
Yes, I want to share the deepening contrast from my first experience with chapter 20 with this experience and how it differs with the healing of the mind. Actually, when I first went through chapter 20 with my original partner, it seemed difficult. There was more struggle, more resistance, more personal identity, which I think was the struggle. Hold on to that instead of working on desires. And this time around, it was more about holding space for me and being the example of looking deeply within. And as always, Jesus chooses partners that are just perfect for the situation. Tricia, my partner, would say something, and it would easily unravel and unfold, or relate to the desire in the way that's very personable to me, and vice versa. And I think anybody who goes through this experience with a partner that's chosen by Jesus will experience that. I did.
Mm-hmm.
And it also helped me feel like to see the progress and the healing of looking at these desires. Because Tricia reminded me so much of how I felt and how I was when I first did these desires. And it was a deep reflection of healing. And how far one has come from when they began this journey of looking at desires. That is not to say that I do not have a lot of work to do. That is just to say that there that our mighty companions are there to show us our usefulness to one another and how important it is to follow. That is always the underlying lesson with every lesson, is to follow. And it just reinforces that understanding every time, in some small way, some gentle reminder. And for instance, a good example, when I first did chapter 20, I remember very vividly where Jesus is reminding me of how I wanted to be. It was like a check in a box. Okay, I did this desire, let's move on. Okay, we looked at this one, let's move on. And I was confronted with that reflection with Tricia, because Tricia was very in that same energy of, well, okay, we've looked at this, let's move on. And I would hear from Jesus like, no, not yet. And there was a more settling, like I felt more comfortable, for lack of a better word, with 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 just continuing the deep looking, and more at home. That's a better word for it. I felt more at home with it. And it was very passionate. There was much compassion and understanding and love and growth. And Tricia also, Jesus showed me where I'm holding, right? That contrast where it comes an ease. It's like letting out a breath you've been holding too long, versus holding that breath and not breathing. And I can tell much more quickly when I'm holding versus when I'm truly releasing. And I still ask, but it's come more natural to me this session. And there's less resistance. And my daily meditations have become multidimensional, for lack of a better word. They've become heavenly. They've become heavenly. And it's just this deepening relationship with God and Jesus.
Beautiful.
Oh, and Tricia's also shown me how I hold on, because we're like literally, is from a mind standpoint or even a behavioral standpoint, the way that we overanalyze and really use the thinking mind to. She showed me how I use my thinking mind to muck it all up. Like that's how I do it. Like I think and I think and I think and I analyze, and I tell myself, "Ooh, I'm really working at this, working through it like a worm through some hard dirt." In reality, I'm just kind of spinning my wheels or something. And I could see the difference between allowing and doing, like being the doer or the allower. And
Mm.
I really see that now. And it's different this time. This time it's more of a holding my light, holding my allowance, allowing and holding that allowance, not so much doing. And it's just an acknowledgement, like acknowledge I have the desire and allow it to unravel. And it's so much easier that way.
Mm.
There's no doing.
Yeah, that was kind of getting to the question that was arising here, I was hearing within, which is, how is your relationship with that inner voice, the voice for God, with Jesus, different, or how is it expanding from your first time in doing chapter 20 with a partner as compared to now? And you just explained that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd also add that there's less fight. There's not as much conflict. Like when I did chapter 20 the first time, I would almost always hear yes, no. Like I would hear both, and I would have to uh, I would have to ask the same question 20 times and hear, and I would, because I was getting both answers, I would get frustrated. It was more fighting, and I didn't realize it, but in the moment I was causing that because I was so attached to my personal identity that I just could not hear two voices. And this time it's very rare when I hear two voices. If I hear two voices, I know right away that I'm onto something, because there's personal identity in there somewhere, and I want an outcome. And for the most part now, it's one voice. It's one voice. That relationship with Jesus is deepening. It's more intimate, more light. I catch his sense of humor a lot more. And I listen more. I don't know how to explain. When you get to this point of following, where you just follow and you know you're going to follow, and you're not going to not follow, it's like there's less
noise.
There's noise. There's less noise. There's not so much proving to oneself that I'm following. There's not so much I have to, like, I don't feel like I'm being told what to do anymore. Like, that was a big thing. Like, always feeling like Jesus telling me what to do. And it's more of a just doing what my heart is asking me to do. And that's my heart. That's my identity. Jesus, I'm seeing less divergence of identity.
Yeah, I'm hearing interpretation, interruption.
Less fight. I'm not fighting.
Yeah.
I'm not fighting it. And Tricia is beautiful. Her beautiful sharings with when we go through I see those defenses that I had that were so richly engrounded in me. And it's not like I'm like, I see it and I'm like, well, I know where you're at. Lots of work to do for you. It's not like that at all. It's like an acknowledgement of where it was and where I am, and this compassion and patience and love and acknowledgement that everything's okay, everything's going to be okay, and that this is just a beautiful unfolding of surrender. And the expression that we would call Tricia and Michael is just is that flower unfolding. It's nothing more than that flower unfolding and being that flower. And that's it. And the unfolding of surrender.
Yeah, you're describing so beautifully the power of joining with another mighty companion.
Yes. Speaking of Tricia, she just messaged me. I don't know if she's coming on or not. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. Mary.
Well, there is this desire for autonomy we all seem to deal with, and joining with a mighty companion just seems to break all of that up, so that there's an availability of hearing the Christ voice that wasn't there when I'm off doing my own thing, or thinking I can do it by myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a question arising about the miracle. And you're talking about allowing instead of fighting, that the process and the acceptance of the miracle. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes. Yes. The allowing. It's allowing yourself to hear the voice for God. Just allowing the voice for God to speak. Through you, seemingly through another. And vice versa. Letting and having a chapter 20 part, letting Jesus speak to you through your chapter 20 partner. And I think one of the biggest hangups we have as doing this process is that when we feel like we're not hearing, our chapter 20 partner is usually the one hearing. I've noticed that happens quite often in the beginning. If one of us is hearing, the other's having difficulty. And that I've noticed that pattern very early on. And if there's this failure to acknowledge that you're hearing Jesus through your chapter 20 partner. Like even when you can't hear the voice for God in your own mind or your own heart, you're still hearing it through another. It's just this acknowledgement that Jesus is reaching for you a hand. And that allowing that to really soak into mind, or allowing that acknowledgement of love, and then reaching back and grabbing that hand is, I would say that's where most of the quote work is just reaching back and choosing God over this identity that we so value through desire. You have to, if there's anything that you quote have to do, you have to make that choice. You have to make that choice over and over and over to choose God And it's never what you think it's going to look like. Choosing God is getting up and choosing, getting up for your meditation, getting up and just doing the day to day, and then listening. And the more you listen, the easier it gets. Before you know it, he's cooking for you, he's cleaning for you, he's folding clothes with you, not for you, but with you. He's telling you how to do it. And you're just like, oh, okay. And it's become a little Grogu in Star Wars, the little green character in Star Wars. Like just this, uh, act your age, essentially. That's what I hear. Act your age. He's your loving older brother. He's trying to hold your hand and walk you home gently. Just act your age and let him do it. Be the child that you are. and it's just love. It's just love and expansion, and not settling for anything else. Because that's what it is. It's a settling. It's a settling for the unreal. If you're choosing that personal identity over God. And that's what this chapter 20, you choose. You choose to dig in to that. Like, and these desires are, the personal identity refuses at times to even acknowledge that we have these desires. And still we dig in and still we look. And that's the work. That's the work, to keep looking until you hear the voice for God convince you otherwise. And he does. He does. And eventually, after that happens, you stop fighting, because it just gets shown to you so many times. And you have to do it more than once. I suggest you do it more than once. Don't just don't brush your hands after you go through the first time. Because that's what the magic happened for me, was the second round. Because that's when I realized how much growth, how much of my personal identity I really let go of, and how much I don't want it. And that is the rocket ship that Kay speaks about, going for God. It's warp speed. That when you hit that point, and you're on the toboggan, and you're going 60 miles an hour through the sled. It's fast. Just buckle up, Buttercup. It's about to get. It's going to be fast. And yeah, and it's fun. It's fun now. It's fun for me. It's not so heavy. And
Here comes Trish.
fear. Okay. All right. Let's hear what Trish has to say, actually.
Welcome, Tricia.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
I'm so happy to be here, really.
Oh, yes. Well, so what happens in these sessions, I know you've looked at some of our videos from the past, is we just, we start with a light and we just tune into what we're hearing from Jesus, that inner voice for God, that's coming up for healing the mind and a service to the whole. So let's just pause for a minute and check in.
Thank you.
There's just so much love here with this process. So is anything coming up for you that you are hearing from your inner voice that you'd like to share with us about doing chapter 20, not doing, but chapter 20 with your partner?
I feel really guided to just speak. You know, I don't know what's going to come out of the mouth, but I've been joining with Michael for we did 5 days actually. It was the first experience with Michael this week of 5 days, and it already feels like it was beyond any time zone. It feels so amazing. Like when we join, the timeline just seems to disappear actually. And then of course it comes back when we say, okay, maybe that's complete for today, etc. We'll meet tomorrow. But I wish I could express better. I need to ask Jesus to help me to say it better, but it's been amazing for me, the 5 days with Michael. I had no idea what was going to happen. And it's beautiful because I didn't know anything about him. He was just a face with 2 big things on his ears. And it was like Jesus was saying, you know, this is all for you. This is so that you can really dive in and not think about a person on a screen. It wasn't a person. The only question I asked him, the only one, was, where are you on the planet? It seemed somehow just good to have an idea. I didn't know. And he just said Michigan, and I go, okay, it's just a word, but that's nice, you know? So anyway, the first day I felt bewildered and lost and stupid, because it was a new approach. You know, this thing, it's so brilliant the way Jesus says, haha, look at yourself, because, you know, this usual pattern of, I do things like everybody does in the world, in the dream, you know, it's like I do things because I think I'm going to know how to do them. And it was really a contrast experience with regard to the laws of the world, where it's all about all these diplomas and degrees and all the things that, you know, we've all done. But in that experience with Michael, there was some attack thoughts coming up the first day because I felt stupid. I thought, I don't know what's going on here, you know. It was so turning it a different way, in spite of the different things I'd listened to with Kay and everything prior to that. So anyway, something happened. It was, I use the word miracle. I don't know if that's correct, but on about the 3rd day, Michael said something like he heard something about just allow. The word allow, the verb allow came through, just allow. And poof, something happened. And everything just became that present moment, just listening with him and listening inside and feeling the presence of Jesus very strongly, which is new for me. You know, I've done so much stuff with Living Miracles and all sorts of other things, you know, Muji and everything. And this was new because it felt kind of like putting on somebody else's shoe at first, but quite quickly with Michael, because I felt so supported by Michael and so not judged. And we're just there, you know. And then I started to feel the love, because he said on about day 3, Michael said towards the end something like, there's so much love here. And I felt it. So the main thing I heard from that week of working was, you don't know anything, it doesn't matter, just let go. That was it. From Jesus, not from Michael. Well, I mean, you know, it's one, I think it's beautiful, because the other thing I started to feel was when on Friday with Michael, which was that was yesterday, the last day we'd done, I truly felt there's no Michael and Tricia and Jesus. It's like a field. Oh, and I wrote something down that I love to share. Tell me if I talk too much, okay?
No,
I'm a
that's
little
great.
bit excited. It's so funny, Mary, because I've been out, I had to go to the city all day doing things, and I got so tired, and I thought, the ego was saying, you know, you're not going to be able to be any good on this call, because I felt exhausted. And now there's all this energy coming through. It's amazing. So I was trying to word this on about day 3 or so, coming off of the call with Michael, having felt this trust coming in, trust for the process, because it's so new to me, and absolute trust for Michael. And I had this weird, because I thought that the ego thought system is saying, you know, you're looking at the things, you're trying to get in touch with the hidden, the relishing, and all that stuff underneath. That's going to be a horrible, heavy, difficult, awful experience, and you probably won't last long, because I'm not usually a very good stayer. And yet, after about day 3, I think it was day 3 or so, we came off the call, and I just sat back and I had this experience which I tried to put into words. I think it might be a miracle, but Jesus knows, I don't know. So what I wrote down was, it was a feeling of being part of an infinite energy field, just there, just appeared, just happened. And it was all embracing and gentle and loving. And I was trying to explain it. It was like, I felt the image I got was like, you know, that very fine muslin cloth. It's so fine, white muslin, so light and fine. And I felt like I was shrouded in this muslin of love, you know, and yeah, it was almost like time and space did disappear. And it's not something I cooked up, because, you know, after the call, I usually think, okay, what am I going to do next? And I just move on, but something held me there in that. And I wrote down a few other little things to share. Yeah. I think the main thing is that I would never have dared to go and look within, as Jesus says in the Course, you know, the fear to look within. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have done it on my own. I'm very used to working with all these people about projection and forgiveness and all of that about the outside, but to go in underneath, and I just heard from Jesus, you know, you can just do this, you could just let go. It was a lot about just let go, allow. And I don't know if there's anything else right now. I had something else. Oh, about judgment. That I love that when Michael and I join, and we're calling Jesus in, and we're kind of listening and stuff, and a lot of the time I don't hear anything. I just say, well, I'm blank, I don't know, or I don't understand quite what that means, or whatever. But something happens there where the judgment falls away. It becomes so obvious that it doesn't matter. And we ended up one day talking about the Shakespeare title, you know, Much Ado About Nothing, and that kind of rounds it up. So yeah, I just feel so much gratitude that this has all come into my life, because I prayed for something, I had no idea, you know, finding Kay, then finding you, and then being given this opportunity with Michael to do this, and to feel the commitment. You know, sometimes it's like, ooh, I don't know if I want to go and get online and do this. You know, I think I'd rather chase butterflies, but there's something compelling about it. There's something very compelling. it's quite dangerous once you start doing it. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I think, oh, and also sometimes I think Jesus is laughing with us, you know. He's sort of kind of having a bit of fun, you know. But I'll stop there for now. But it's been an amazing week that doesn't feel like any enclosed timeline. It feels vast.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow. 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 Very beautiful from both of you.
Yeah. I would say that what Tricia hit on, like the feeling that you get, and I have had this happen so many times now that it's just almost expected sometimes, where like I feel like a baby about 20-30 minutes before I'm supposed to get on and do a chapter 20 joining or just anything related to looking at desires, I'll get tired, or there will be an external distraction that I have to literally choose one or the other. And now it's just like, oh, there it is. There's the resistance. I'm still going to do it. And it's laughable now. It's laughable. It's just, and it gets easier and easier to ignore, override, and continue the cleaning out of desires. And
Yeah,
That's all.
what I'm also hearing, what's coming up for me, or coming up right now from Jesus, is that I'm so sure I know what something looks like or is going to be like, or, you know, and what happens with all of this and asking for the presence of Jesus, the Holy Spirit, to be in the moment and allow, it's just a whole new ball game. I don't know. And the experience becomes so profound that it, as you both have tried to put into words, it goes beyond words. There's something very profound when Holy Spirit, Jesus, that inner voice for God, starts working with us, and we're willing, as you both have talked about, to allow that, and we're willing to be present to it and hear it through our brother, hear it through ourselves, and it's very trust building, and it's very confirming in terms of, Michael, you were talking about the fight, and I've really been looking myself at a deep desire to fight God. And with these experiences in the joining and that deep inner work with Jesus, there's something very profound and very different that takes place than I've ever experienced before. And it gives, as I say, it builds trust, and it builds that confidence that this is it. This is it. It's contributing, it's calling forth in ways that I never would have anticipated.
yeah. And the contrast is astounding. Astounding. I remember, I think it was day 2, Tricia and I did a chapter 20 sharing, and I got off after during the joining, and right after, I literally felt invincible. Like, I felt like you could have dropped an atomic bomb on me and it wouldn't have done anything. I mean, I felt invincible, like so much power, real power. And I think, Mary, what you're trying to describe is holiness. It's holiness.
Mm.
It's this loving, joining holiness that, that is beyond understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Renee, are you hearing anything? Oops, sorry.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to kind of what's the word, go a bit further with that, I saw this week the power of joining that I had never experienced before, and yet I had done lots of it in communities and this and that, but this is like a whole different level. I just wanted to confirm that. It's amazing.
Mhm.
It's amazing and unexpected.
Mhm.
On day one, I thought, oh, I can't do this. It's awful, and it's like, no. Yeah. And I love that it's so impersonal with Michael.
Mhm.
It's not about any stories at all, really. It's just
Mhm.
in the moment, really getting in underneath in the moment and letting the images come, or the words,
Mhm.
It's amazingly powerful.
Mm. Well, this is beautiful. Wow, nothing needs to be said. Renee, are you being prompted to say anything?
Oh, I just was hearing, how really just for this joining, it's been just to be with him, to be with Jesus. And so I've just been enjoying listening to this holy talk, this holy conversation. And as you're all saying, it's like coming to that point where it's like, wow, you can't even it does go beyond words. And yet we could never run out of words, like with our gratitude, like to Jesus and one another for this opportunity. It's just like a continuous invitation to rest and to be together.
In Holy Communion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it just it also, like, what I kept hearing was like just confirmations of everything that I hear all the time. And so it's really beautiful. It's just always like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like again and again, it's like, oh yeah, I was hearing that. Yeah, I was hearing that. And then just like that, the power of the allowance, the recognition to see whenever I'm not at peace. So that contrast, is so helpful, of just seeing, okay, I'm not at peace. And then how joining becomes everything. At first, it kind of seems like, okay, I'm setting aside this time. Or I need to do this, at a certain time or whatever. And now it's kind of like learning to just be with his timing on everything, and just say, okay, I have no idea how this is going to work, how it's going to look. And then just asking. And the consistency, just like the constant turning back, like Michael was saying, like reaching back, to like, okay, I'm not like turning away from you, Jesus, am I? Because I have a habit. And so am I turning, just see the choice with that.
I could also add, if I may, that I have noticed just those 5 days, it's 5 hours that feels like a big time thing or timeless, but I'm seeing during the day outside of that joining, there's more awareness of the presence of Jesus than I had before.
Mm.
It's like I don't remember to go looking, hey, are you there? But it's like suddenly I'll feel it. You know, I feel like some small thing. I don't know, small things, and it's like, oh yeah, I feel it. He's kind of saying, you know, go this way, go that way. Very subtle, but it's not the same as before.
Mhm. Yeah, what I see is that there's such that contrast between following and not following.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, it seems that the experience here is that the more I have experienced this direct asking through joining to look at desires, the more the awareness there is of the contrast between following and not following that inner voice. And Kay keeps talking about the unwillingness to continue to tolerate the ego thoughts in my head, in my mind, and saying no, and then asking for that guidance. And that's where it's at, moment to moment to moment. And the practice we get in Holy Communion and these joinings on chapter 20, or anytime we join with the mighty, is where the rubber meets the road. It's where it's at. So thank you, everyone. Thank you. This has just been so beautiful, such a holy encounter. And we'll have you back again, and who knows when, and hear what's transpiring, what you've been experiencing with this, listening to the inner voice for Jesus, for the Holy Spirit. Blessings.
Mhm.